Hi there, I'm Sean Jacobson. I am Fiveable's AP Comparative Government teacher. I want to talk to you about prime minister elections that happened in 2020. It's not just the U.S. Election that is happening. We are talking about all these elections throughout the world. We want you to follow Fiveable on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. If you're here, you probably have seen it in one of those. So follow them all. So what is a prime minister? It's usually in most countries the second most important person behind the president, but this isn't always the case. But when it is the case, the prime minister is usually in charge of domestic issues. And because of COVID, some of these election dates were moved and some of them were contested because of the low turnouts. So let's go through all these. In Malta, Robert Abeyo became the 14th prime minister. He's appointed by the president of Malta. In South Korea, Chung Syan-kun became the 46th prime minister of the Republic of Korea, also appointed by the president. In Western Sahara, this is a very interesting area of the world south of Morocco, unless you ask Moroccans who say it's part of Morocco. Bayoun has become prime minister of this area, and this is the second time. But the government's in exile. So it's the government's in part of Algeria, and the president also appoints the prime minister there. It's very fascinating to look at that. In Russia, Mikhail Vladimirovich Mishustin is the chairman of the government of the Russian Federation, or the prime minister. It's the same thing. The prime minister is appointed by the president with the consent of the State Duma. And if you know anything about Russia, Putin's there, and there was a big overthrow of the government in March this year. So that's a big deal. In Guinea-Bissau, in the African country, there's Nabiam became the most recent prime minister, and again, appointment by president. In Qatar, Sheikh Khalid bin Khalifa bin Abdul Aziz Al Thani is now the prime minister. He came after Al Thani's resignation of the former. Okay, then we go to, Vanuatu. Vanuatu had their Bob Laufman became prime minister of the 24th of April, or the 24th prime minister in April. He could be there for a few days. He could be there for 4 years. There's no reason to think that he'll be there for too long because previous prime ministers haven't stayed that long. In Haiti, Joseph Joustre became the 22nd prime minister, again appointed by the president. In Slovenia, Janez Janša is the current prime minister. He has been prime minister 3 times. So he has some staying power, but he also has some leaving power too. So interesting. In Slovakia, not Slovenia, Igor Matovic is the 7th prime minister this year, appointed by the president as well. And the term that he'll be there will depend on the president. Malaysia got their 8th prime minister, Muhammad Yassin, and was appointed by the president as well. Abkhazia. Ankavab was appointed. He's the second time that he's been doing this. Haven't had too many in that area. Iraq got their 18th since Saddam Hussein and al-Kadhimi, but most do not serve a full 4 years in their terms. Only 2 of the previous 6 have done that. In Lesotho, the African country in southern parts, Majoro became the 6th prime minister in May. There's a 5-year term limit. But the previous 3 haven't served even 3 years. So not likely that'll happen. In Kosovo, 5th prime minister since the UN recognized them. In France, they're up to their 101st. He was put there by Macron. Burundi had their first one since the Civil War from 1993 and 2005. That's a big deal. He's the 15th. If he's lucky, will serve about a year. In Gabon, there was a new prime minister in July. It's the first female prime minister. Yoshida Suga of Japan had to become prime minister because Shinzo Abe resigned. He's the longest serving one there. In Guyana, we have our 9th prime minister. No terms. Probably will serve about a year or so, unless he's Baraj Jageo, who only served 2 days. So, Then you have Mauritania, where Bilal became the 16th prime minister. There are terms, but he can serve anywhere from a year to 7 years based off of previous. Somalia, very interesting country to study. We have Mohammed Hussein Roble, who became the 19th prime minister. No terms, probably will serve anywhere from a year to 3 years, depending on precedent. Tunisia, Hikam Makiki became the 16th prime minister. And since the Arab Spring, this is where the Arab Spring started, the prime minister has been responsible for domestic policies. There are terms. He will probably serve about a year to 3 years, depending on how good it goes. In Belgium, we have Alexander De Croo. No term limits again. He can serve from about a year to 10 years, depending on how it goes. In Jordan, Bashir al-Qassawene became the prime minister after Razaz resigned due to his handling of COVID-19. He will not serve long because there's going to be new elections in November. In Kyrgyzstan, I'm going to make another video about Kyrgyzstan because it's very interesting. There was Baronov for a while, but then he had to resign because of the protests, and Zaporova is there. In Togo, we have our 13th prime minister. He's the head of the government and is appointed by the president. No terms again. Oman got a new one in Bin Tariq, and he's the 12th sultan. Very interesting about that. The previous sultan did not have children, Qaboos bin Said. So he had to name his own successor, who was Bin Tariq, who is the Minister of Heritage and National Culture. In Ireland, they have the Taoiseach, and that's Michael Martin. And he is the 15th. On average, they serve about 3 years. If you're interested in any of this, we talk about countries like this all the time in AP Comparative Government. We talk about the UK, Russia, China, Nigeria, Iran, and Mexico in current day, and it is fascinating. Best part about it, current events are super huge. I would be your teacher, so I hope to see you.